Hi there, my name is Matt Brown, and this is Million Dollar Principles. These are principles that I've used to build multiple businesses turning over $1 million a year. And these are principles that I've used in my last 20 years of building businesses, and I'm sure these principles will be valuable to you as well. So this next principle is principle number 10, exit or die. And I got a personal story I want to share with you. So it was 1991. It was in the middle of apartheid in South Africa, and my dad owned a gun store or a firearms store called Cape Handgun. And it was a very uncertain time in South Africa. There was a lot of civil unrest. There was a political activist called Chris Hani, and he got shot or assassinated by someone, don't know who. And literally the whole country was like on the brink of civil war. It was a pretty scary time, and a lot of people went to go and buy guns. And of course, my dad's business was well positioned to, make a lot of money, and they did. In fact, they took, 6 figures a day over the counter. That's how many guns were bought at that time. And I distinctly remember watching this whole story go down, because I was like 12 years old, working in the gun store, making bullets in the back room sort of thing. And yeah, they made a lot of money, bought sports cars. It was like crazy. Thankfully, we didn't go to civil war, and, things kind of worked out, as we all know. But what did happen with the business, though, is that the market moved. So as Nelson Mandela was released, and we kind of entered, a time of democracy, then the market kind of moved, and people stopped buying guns as much as they used to. And the funny thing was, despite all that success that my father had in that business, the business eventually died. And the moral of that story is that businesses die, and they die faster than you think. I mean, you could have a business for 3 years and it could die. It doesn't mean it's, most people don't even get there. Most businesses don't basically get there. I read a US stat recently that if you have $1 million business, you're in the top 10% of businesses in the USA. So that's why the $1 million threshold matters so much, because it's so hard to get to. In fact, 90% or 9 out of 10 attempts by a founder don't get there. So if you have $1 million business, you're in the top 10% of all businesses that exist, listed or not. And that's a crazy stat to think about. So my experience, I've exited 4 times now, and I never regret exiting a business. I don't believe that a business will survive, especially now, for like 10 or 20 years. Like, it's so rare, and it's fine if you want to have a business, that's going to last 10 years. And, it's fine if you want to pursue that. My experience, though, has clearly shown that markets now move so fast, that if you don't prepare to exit, you will probably lose the business anyway. And in a services business, for example, all your free working capital goes back into people to grow your services business. It's a very capital and resource intensive type of operating model. So if you don't have a consistent positive cash flow in terms of your business, and you don't have a financial runway to execute on when things, and everybody has a bad cash flow month at some point or another, your business stands a chance of dying. And the points I'm trying to make is you should think about exiting. Like, I believe if you're either the type of entrepreneur that's going to build and sell, or you're not. And you should think about what type of entrepreneur are you before you start the business. Like, when do you exit? How much should you sell for? What is a number that you're prepared to take? Not what you think your business is worth, but what are you prepared to accept cash out when you sell your business? And do you feel that you could do it again? You know, I've built big services business, 50 people, and I hated it. Hated it. I was like, this business sucks. I don't want this business. There's too many humans in this, too much people drama, too much cultural stuff, too much, I now have to be CEO, I can't sell. You know what I mean? Like things start to change. Like, oh my God, the consequences of failing are really dire. And, when you have a business for 3 years, a minimum of 3 years, it's a good time to sell. You can start a business after a year, even. And while you are building a business, you don't really have much free cash. You don't really have money. You're not driving Ferraris and Porsches. If you are, you're a fucking idiot because you're taking money out the business that should be reinvested in the business to ensure that it can continue to grow. So most entrepreneurs are broke and they only really experience a liquidity event when they sell. That's when you get rich. You don't get rich in month 6 or month 18 or month 36. You get rich when you sell and you exit. So what could you do with $1 million cash out? What would you do? What freedom would you have? How would you spend your time? Who would you spend your time with? What difference could you make? And we don't think about those things when we start a business. What does the end look like? And then work back from the end to today to figure out, well, how do I need to build the business so that it can be as valuable as possible when I sell? Because otherwise, you're going to remain relatively broke. That's the truth. And you probably are going to just continually risk the eventuality of the business dying at some point or another. And if you want to hold on to 100% equity, you don't want to be like giving away equity because you don't have cash or cash flow. That's ridiculous. That's the worst situation to be in. Because then you're just giving away equity, most expensive form of financing that there is. So exit. Think about even if you decide not to exit at a certain point in time, build your business as if you were going to exit.
Are there any indicators that a founder can look out for that would give them a hint to start an exit process?
Yes. When you realize one day that you don't love the business anymore, you start thinking about other things. That's the first one. That's a personal, is your motivation at a 10? Is it the same as it was when you started the company? Because if it isn't, you should probably be thinking about, well, why is my motivation not where it was? And really unpacking that, like get into the layers of the onion and understand, okay, well, what motivates me now? Because it's interesting because like when you start a business, your motivation is just to build a business, right? To make money. And then you learn how to make money, you hit a certain revenue target, $500,000, $1 million or whatever. Then what? So suddenly it's not about the challenge anymore or the achievement motivator of getting to $1 million. It's something else. You've achieved that thing now. So there's no fulfillment in the number. Okay, well, congratulations. You've built a business that turns over $1 million. Well done. Now what? So are you fulfilled by that? Because if you are, great. Maybe hang on to it and continue with that. But then you got to take the risks that go along with holding on to a business in markets that continuously move. The other one is a financial metric. So the financial metric is, looking back over, I would suggest, a 36-month period, a 3-year period, how much profit has that business or is that business generating? And then basically working with adjusted EBITDA or seller's discretionary earnings. You guys can Google that, but basically take out your owner expenses and then see what the true profit of the business is. And if you take that business profit, let's just say it's, $1 million a year, you put a multiple on that. So depending on what your industry is, you can look at a 2 times multiple, 3 times multiple, sometimes 5 or 10, depending if you're in like a tech product as an example. But then you can say to yourself, well, what's my business worth? And I think that's a really good exercise to continually do at the end of every financial year. What is my business worth after year 1? What's it, after year 2 and year 3? And then going, damn, because you can build a business that's actually valuable, and you don't know it. You just think, I did $1 million last year. It's like, well, but no, dude, your business is actually worth 3 or 5 million. So if you knew that and you know that at a certain point in time, is it not the time to exit? Would you take the 5 million and kick back and be in the top 0.1% of the wealthiest people in the world? And that's the point, is to think about either you're going to exit or it's going to die. And that's your principle for this video. So if you'd like what I have to say, guys, you'd like to lend your point of view, like, comment, subscribe, dig to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.